Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we grab stacks of complex info, reports, data, all that stuff, and boil it down.
Yeah, we try to find the core insights, the stuff that really matter.
Exactly. Give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, maybe with a few surprising facts. Keep things interesting.
Definitely.
So today we're diving into, well, it's a really fascinating bit of plant science. A specific plant trial looking at different ways to feed nutrients.
Specifically, comparing foliar feeding, so spraying onto the leaves, versus drip irrigation, delivering to the roots.
Right, and comparing both of those against a control group that didn't get the special treatment.
And the key here is they tracked a whole bunch of plant health indicators, performance metrics, over a really short period, just 3 days.
Just 72 hours, which is kind of amazing. So our mission today is to unpack all this data, these reports and tables, figure out what actually happened.
How did the plants react? What worked? What didn't? Were there any, unexpected twists?
Exactly. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's unpack these plant trials and see what these plants are telling us. Understanding the baseline. Days.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can even talk about what changed, we absolutely have to look at where things started, the baseline, day zero.
Right, the starting line. Makes sense.
And what's really critical here, and honestly quite impressive from the researchers, is how similar the plants were at the beginning. If you look at the day zero data, table 1 in that first report,
Yeah.
it shows what they call a really high degree of homogeneity. Basically, all the plant groups started out almost identical.
Homogeneity. So like uniform. They were all kind of the same before anything happened.
Exactly. Think of it like starting a race where all the runners are perfectly matched in fitness and speed right at the beginning.
Okay, I get that.
And why that matters for you listening is it gives us confidence. If we see big differences later on, day 1 or day 3.
We know it's because of the treatments, the foliar spray, or the drip feed, and not because one group just started out stronger.
Precisely. It lets us isolate the effect of the treatment itself. It removes that doubt that maybe the plants were just different to begin with. It's just good science.
Makes the conclusions much more solid.
Absolutely. So let's just touch on some of those day zero numbers just to see how close they really were. Take the iron efficiency index.
Okay, what's that measuring again?
It's basically how well the plant takes up and uses iron. Iron's vital for, chlorophyll, making energy.
Got it.
So foliar started at 1.305. Drip was 1.299. Control was 1.292.
Wow, okay. That's incredibly close, like statistically the same, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. And it wasn't just iron. Look at zinc efficiency. Zinc's crucial for enzymes, lots of processes.
Right, that look.
Foliar was 0.642, drip 0.626, control 0.623. Again, super tight range.
Okay.
Same story for manganese efficiency, another key nutrient for photosynthesis. All groups hovered right around 0.99. Foliar 0.992, drip 0.993, control 0.993.
So on the nutrient efficiency front, they were all starting from the same playbook.
Exactly. It shows the trial setup was really well controlled in terms of initial nutrient status.
It's actually kind of amazing to get living things that uniform.
It takes meticulous work beforehand, selecting the plants, the growing medium, everything. Now, let's look at stress indicators. The potassium stress index, or KSI.
KSI potassium, so that relates to drought and salt stress.
Exactly. It's a marker for resilience against those kinds of stresses. And again, very consistent starting points. Foliar was about 1.52, while drip and control were both around 1.46.
Still pretty close, yeah.
And the sodium stress index, how the plant's dealing with sodium. Foliar 0.409, drip 0.401, control 0.389. All in a very narrow band.
So similar starting points for stress handling, too.
Right. And even broader health metrics.
Right.
Like NDVI, Normalized Difference Vegetation Index.
Oh, yeah, the greenness measure you see from satellites sometimes.
That's the one. Measures plant vigor, photosynthetic activity. Foliar was 0.928, drip 0.922, control 0.926, all around 0.92, 0.93.
Okay, so healthy and uniform greenness.
Yeah. Carotenoid Reflectance Index, which relates to pigments and stress, also started basically the same, around minus 0.10 for all groups.
Minus 0.10.
And the magnesium chlorophyll model, another measure tied directly to photosynthesis capacity, again, super close. Foliar 1.234, drip 1.225, control 1.239.
So the picture building here for day zero is just remarkable consistency across almost everything. Health, nutrients, stress potential.
It really is. It provides that solid, reliable foundation. We can trust that what we see next is, meaningful
So are there any indicators where they weren't quite so perfectly matched?
Good question. Yeah, there were a couple, and it's important to acknowledge those, though they don't really undermine the overall homogeneity. The first is the water band index, WBI.
Water band index.
Yeah.
So measuring how much water is in the leaves, plant hydration.
Exactly. It's a really strong indicator of water stress. Here, the numbers were a bit more spread out. Foliar started around -3.9, drip was lower, -7.2, and control was lowest, meaning most stressed initially, at almost -12.9.
Whoa. Okay, that's definitely more of a difference than the others. -4 versus -13.
It is numerically, yes. But the crucial thing here is that all the values were negative.
Ah, okay. So all the plants were showing at least some level of water stress right from the start.
Precisely. Maybe the initial watering wasn't quite enough, or maybe it was intentional to see how they'd cope, but the key is we know their starting thirst level, if you like, and while there was a gradient, they were all in that stressed state together.
Got it. So there was an underlying water stress baseline.
Exactly. And the other one with a noticeable initial difference was the Brix NIR model.
Brix. That's sugar content, right? Often linked to crop quality.
Yep, estimate sugar in the leaves, a proxy for metabolic activity and quality. Here, foliar actually started highest around 6.5, drip was lower at 5.7, and control was 5.8.
So foliar had a bit of a head start in terms of leaf sugar.
It seems so, yeah. That was probably the most noticeable deviation in absolute terms. But even with these slight variations in WBI and Brix, the overwhelming picture for day 0 is one of exceptional uniformity across the critical physiological markers.
Okay, so despite maybe a little bit more initial water stress in the control group and slightly higher sugar in foliar, we're still looking at a really solid, comparable starting point for all three groups.
Absolutely. We can move forward confidently, knowing that the big shifts we're about to see are almost certainly driven by the foliar spray, the drip feed, or the lack thereof.
Fantastic. That sets the stage perfectly. So let's move on. What happens just 24 hours later?
Day 1 observations.
All right, so day 0 gives us that crucial, super uniform baseline. But things change fast in biology, right? So day 1, what does that data, table 2, tell us? How quickly did these treatments start making a difference?
Oh, incredibly quickly. It's actually quite striking. Within just 24 hours, we start seeing significant divergences. And remember, we're looking for those statistically significant differences, the ones marked with different letters, A, B, C, from that Tuckey's test.
Right, the letters tell us it's a real difference, not just random noise. So where did the first big changes show up? You mentioned WBI, the water index showed some initial spread.
Exactly. And that's where the most dramatic difference appears on day 1. It really jumps off the page.
Okay, so what happened with plant hydration after one day?
Huge separation. The foliar group's WBI was around -6.9. The drip group was significantly lower, -8.5. And the control group plummeted further to -11.7.
Wow, so foliar is already doing much better. Less negative means less water stress, right?
Precisely. Foliar is significantly better hydrated than drip, and both foliar and drip are significantly better off than control, which is clearly suffering the most.
So that foliar spray seems to have had an almost immediate effect on helping the plant hold on to water or use it better.
It strongly implies that yes, direct absorption through the leaves, perhaps bypassing any issues with root uptake or soil moisture availability. It's like an immediate hydration boost. Really powerful evidence for rapid foliar efficacy in this context.
That is impressive for just 24 hours. What else started to shift significantly?
Well, the zinc efficiency index also showed some interesting immediate movement.
Okay, zinc, again, important for enzymes.
Right. Foliar group was at 0.603. But the drip group took a statistically significant dip down to 0.566.
A dip. So drip was less efficient with zinc after one day.
Compared to foliar, yes, significantly less efficient. The control group was actually in the middle at 0.590.
Yeah.
Not significantly different from foliar, but it was significantly better than drip.
Huh. That's interesting. Why would adding nutrients via drip lower zinc efficiency initially?
That's a great question. Could be several things. Maybe nutrient competition in the root zone, or maybe the change in the soil solution shocked the roots slightly, temporarily hindering uptake or utilization. It definitely raises a flag about the immediate impact of drip in this specific setup.
Yeah, that's counterintuitive almost. Okay, what about overall stress resilience, that KSI index?
This is another really fascinating one on day 1. Remember, they all started fairly close. Foliar stayed strong at 1.500. The control group also stayed strong, right at 1.500.
Okay, so what about drip?
Drip took a hit. It dropped significantly to 1.389.
Whoa. So drip plants became less resilient to stress after one day, while foliar and even the untreated control plants held steady.
Exactly. It suggests that, at least initially, the drip application might have somehow compromised the plant's ability to manage whatever background environmental stress was present. Maybe changing the root environment disrupted their coping mechanisms. It's a significant finding, the treated group doing worse than the control, even temporarily.
That really highlights a potential vulnerability for the drip method under immediate stress, doesn't it?
Very interesting. Were there other surprising results like that?
Well, the sodium stress index had a slightly odd pattern too initially. On day one, foliar and drip were identical at 0.426, but the control group was significantly lower at 0.370.
Lower sodium stress than the control.
For day one, yes. It might suggest maybe less sodium uptake initially, or perhaps a different physiological response that kept that index down in the very short term. We definitely need to see how that plays out over the full 3 days, though.
Okay, so a potential early advantage for control there, surprisingly. What about the engine of the plant photosynthesis? Anything happening with chlorophyll?
Slight differences emerged with the magnesium chlorophyll model. Here, the drip group actually edged slightly ahead. It was 1.249, which was statistically higher than foliar at 1.231 and control at 1.229.
So drip showed potentially slightly better chlorophyll levels. Very slightly, yes. It's subtle, but it hints that maybe the drip nutrients were starting to support chlorophyll production a tiny bit more effectively right at the start. A small positive sign counteracting the negative dips elsewhere for drip.
Okay, so a real mixed bag for drip on day one. Struggles with zinc efficiency and stress resilience, but maybe a tiny boost in chlorophyll. What about sugars? The bricks and iron.
That's another area where drip lagged behind initially. Foliar was strong at 6.136. Control was also quite high at 6.096, but drip, significantly lower, down at 5.760.
Lower sugar content in the drip group's leaves already.
Yeah, suggesting either less sugar production via photosynthesis, or maybe sugars were being used up or moved elsewhere differently. It could even be linked back to that lower zinc efficiency, perhaps impairing some metabolic pathways needed for sugar synthesis. It's another early concern for the drip group's performance.
Definitely. So drip is lagging in leaf sugar content compared to both foliar and control after just one day.
Correct. And meanwhile, several other indicators like the iron and manganese efficiency indexes we talked about, and EVI greenness, the carotenoid index, they didn't show any significant differences between the groups on day one. They remained stable.
So not everything changes immediately. Some systems are more buffered or slower to respond.
Exactly. It tells us which physiological processes are the most sensitive or reactive in the short term. But those key shifts in WBI, zinc efficiency, KSI, and BRICS really paint a picture of rapid differentiation. Foliar showing immediate benefits, especially in hydration, while drip shows some concerning initial struggles.
Yeah, it's like an instant physiological report card. You can already see clear winners and losers emerging on specific metrics after just 24 hours. Really sets the stage for day three.
Day three and beyond.
Okay, so day one gave us those rapid, almost instant reactions, really dramatic shifts in some cases. But, 24 hours is just a snapshot. What happens when we look at the full 3 days? Let's jump into that day 3 data, table 3, and that comprehensive analysis. Did those early trends hold? Did things change?
Absolutely. The 3-day mark is where we really see the sustained effects, the consolidation of those initial responses. It gives us a much clearer picture of overall performance and resilience over this, admittedly still short, but critical time frame.
Right. And you said the water band index, the WBI, was the big story on day 1. How did that look by day 3? Did drip or control manage to recover their hydration levels?
Not at all. In fact, the gap widened dramatically. This is probably the most compelling narrative across the 3 days. By day 3, the foliar group's WBI was still relatively stable, around minus 10.4, still stressed compared to 0, but managing it.
Okay, minus 10.4. What about the others?
They completely tanked. The drip group plummeted down to minus 33.5,
Yeah.
and the control group was even slightly worse, around minus 36.0.
Whoa. Minus 10 versus minus 33 and minus 36. That's a colossal difference.
It's huge. It unequivocally shows the superior sustained performance of the foliar treatment in maintaining plant hydration. Remember, they all started with some stress. Foliar application seems to have provided the tools to manage that stress consistently.
While the others just got progressively more dehydrated.
Exactly. Both drip and control showed this continued significant decline, indicating escalating water stress. Control, well, that's maybe expected without intervention. But the drip group being down there with control is really telling. It suggests the drip irrigation in this context just wasn't effectively meeting the plant's water needs or helping it cope over these 3 days.
Which is fundamental. If a plant's that dehydrated, everything else suffers.
Everything. Photosynthesis slows down, nutrient uptake is hampered, growth stops. That sustained hydration advantage for foliar is likely underpinning its success in other areas too.
Makes total sense. Okay, so water status is a clear win for foliar. What about that overall stress resilience, the KSI? Drip had that worrying dip on day 1. Did it bounce back?
It did, interestingly.
Ah,
Looking at day 3 KSI, foliar was stable at 1.471. Control was also stable and high at 1.527. And the drip group, it recovered significantly up to 1.517. Statistically, by day 3, they were all pretty similar, again, in terms of KSI.
okay, so drip caught up on that specific stress index.
It caught up in the final measurement, yes. But we absolutely cannot ignore that significant dip on day 1. It still points to a lower initial capacity to handle stress under the drip regime.
Right. It might have recovered by day 3 in this trial, but what if the stressor was worse or lasted longer? That initial lag could be fatal.
Exactly my point. It suggests a potential vulnerability, a slower adjustment period for drip-fed plants when facing immediate challenges. Foliar and control showed that consistent, stable resilience from the start. That initial stability is often critical in real-world agriculture.
So a nuanced picture for KSI drip recovered, but the initial weakness is still a key observation. Now let's talk quality. Brix NIR, the sugar content. How did that look after 3 days? Did foliar maintain its early lead?
This is where things get really dynamic and require careful interpretation. By day 3, foliar was at 5.304, drip was slightly higher at 5.501, and control was 5.301. So statistically, no significant difference between them on day 3 in the leaves.
Wait, so foliar actually ended up slightly lower than drip in leaf sugar and lower than its own starting value. Doesn't that contradict its other positive results?
See, this is where we need to think beyond just the number in the leaf. This is likely a classic example of the source to sink phenomenon.
Source to sink. Okay, explain that.
Think of the leaves as the source. They produce sugars via photosynthesis. But the plant needs to send those sugars to sinks areas of active growth or storage, like developing fruits, roots, or tubers.
Okay.
So if the foliar-treated plants are performing really well, maybe they're setting fruit or boosting root growth more effectively, they would then be actively transporting sugars out of the leaves, the source, and sending them to those developing fruits or roots, the sinks.
So lower sugar in the leaf doesn't mean the plant is doing poorly. It could mean it's efficiently moving its energy resources to where they're needed for yield.
Precisely. It can actually be a sign of active development and good overall performance. The plant isn't just hoarding sugar in its leaves, it's investing it in the harvestable parts or its long-term structures. The drip group having slightly higher leaf sugar might even mean it's less efficient at moving those sugars out.
That is fascinating. So what looks like a drop is potentially a sign of success. That completely reframes how you look at that Brix data.
It does. It highlights why understanding the whole plant physiology is crucial, not just isolated numbers. You have to consider where the energy is flowing.
A brilliant insight. Okay, what other significant changes consolidated by day 3? You mentioned sodium stress had an interesting start.
Yeah, and it had a dramatic finish. Remember, control had the lowest sodium stress on day 1. By day 3, that completely flipped. Foliar was at 4.091, but drip jumped way up to 4.698, and control was even higher at 4.897.
So foliar ended up with significantly less sodium stress than both drip and control?
Significantly less. It suggests the foliar treatment was actively helping the plant manage or exclude sodium over the 3 days, while the drip and control plants accumulated much more, potentially reaching detrimental levels. That's a huge long-term benefit, especially in salty soils.
Definitely a major advantage for foliar there. What about the overall greenness and health indicators like NDVI?
Foliar maintained its lead there too. NDVI on day 3 was 0.399 for foliar, significantly higher than drip at 0.366 and control at 0.350.
So foliar plants stayed greener, more vigorous?
Yep, indicates a healthier, more photosynthetically active canopy compared to the other two groups, which showed signs of decline.
And the carotenoid index, did that show stress?
It did. Foliar was lowest at 1.121, drip was significantly higher at 1.174, and control highest at 1.197. Higher values often signal stress changes in pigment ratios, maybe chlorophyll breaking down. So again, drip and control showing more signs of stress than foliar.
Consistent picture then. And the magnesium chlorophyll model?
Similar story. Foliar maintained slightly better levels at 1.205, significantly higher than drip at 1.182. Control was in between at 1.192. So foliar supporting better chlorophyll content than drip right through to day 3.
Okay. And did iron and manganese efficiency ever change?
Nope. Those remained remarkably stable and similar across all 3 groups for the entire 3 days.
Interesting. So the treatments had profound effects on water, sodium, overall vigor, but not specifically on iron or manganese uptake efficiency in this time frame?
Seems that way. It helps pinpoint where the treatments are making the biggest difference.
Absolutely. So, okay, we've walked through day 0, day 1, day 3. We've seen these trends emerge and consolidate. If we step back now and try to synthesize this, connect it all to the bigger picture,
Okay.
what's the main takeaway? What's the story these 3 days of data tell us about these treatments? Overall synthesis and implications.
Well, when you pull it all together, the data from these 3 days paints a pretty clear comparative picture. Each treatment showed distinct strengths and weaknesses within this rapid time frame.
Okay, so let's break it down. What's the final verdict on the foliar treatment?
Foliar really emerged as the standout performer here. Its most significant advantage was in maintaining plant hydration. That WBI data was just undeniable. It consistently kept the plants less water stressed than the others.
Which is huge.
Huge. And linked to that, it showed strong, stable stress resilience right from the start, based on the KSI. Then there's the BRICS data. Understanding the source-to-sink idea suggests it was efficiently moving sugars, likely indicating good development rather than poor performance.
Right, the hidden success story.
Exactly. Plus, by day 3, it clearly had the advantage in managing sodium stress, maintained higher NDVI values for better overall greenness and vigor, and kept chlorophyll levels healthier than drip. It just looks like a much more robust, well-supported plant across the board thanks to that direct foliar application.
So a very effective, rapid, and holistic support system in this trial. What about the drip treatment then? It seemed like more of a mixed story.
It definitely was. The drip group, it had that slight initial edge in the chlorophyll model, but that was overshadowed by some significant struggles. That day 1 dip in stress resilience, the KSI, is a major point of concern, even though it recovered later.
That initial vulnerability.
Yes, and critically, it failed to keep up with hydration. Its WBI by day 3 was almost as bad as the control group. That's a fundamental issue. It also lagged in zinc efficiency early on, had lower BRICS on day 1, and ended day 3 with higher sodium stress and lower NDVI compared to foliar.
So despite delivering nutrients to the roots, it just didn't translate into comparable overall health or stress management in this short, intense period.
Not compared to foliar, no. It suggests that maybe root uptake was too slow, or perhaps inhibited by the existing water stress, or maybe the specific formulation wasn't optimal for drip in these conditions. Whatever the reason, it was clearly less effective than the direct foliar route here.
Okay. And finally, the control group, the baseline. Beyond just showing decline, did it teach us anything unexpected?
It absolutely did. As expected, it suffered the most from water stress and ended with high sodium stress. That validates its role as a baseline. But the surprise was its resilience. Its KSI, that stress index, remained high and stable throughout, statistically matching the foliar group.
That is surprising. The untreated plants managing stress just as well as the best performing treatment group.
On that specific metric, yes. It really underscores the idea of inherent plant resilience. These plants clearly had a strong baseline capacity to cope with certain stressors, even without help. It makes you appreciate that interventions often build upon, or hopefully enhance, what the plant can already do.
That's a great point. The treatment isn't working in a vacuum. It's interacting with the plant's own internal mechanisms and baseline strength.
Precisely.
So bringing this back to the listener, whether someone's a farmer, a researcher, a keen gardener, or just interested in data, what are the practical implications? How does knowing about WBI, KSI, BRICS, and how they changed over just 3 days help someone be, as we say, well-informed?
I think the implications are quite significant. First, it shows the power of rapid physiological assessment. You don't necessarily need weeks or months to see meaningful differences. Key indicators can reveal treatment efficacy in just days.
So faster decision-making is possible?
Potentially, yes. Imagine using sensors that could track something like WBI in near real time. You could see if your irrigation or foliar spray is actually working immediately after application, or if plants are starting to struggle, allowing for much quicker adjustments.
Like a diagnostic tool for plant health.
Exactly. And understanding these specific indicators gives you that shortcut. Knowing WBI reflects immediate water status, KSI reflects resilience to key stresses like drought and salt. And BRICS NIR, interpreted correctly with source to sink, relates to energy partitioning and quality. That's powerful knowledge. It lets you look beyond just, does the plant look green, to understand why it might be thriving or struggling.
It gives you a deeper diagnostic capability.
It really does. And it raises that crucial question moving forward. How can we leverage this kind of rapid multi-indicator assessment to make smarter, faster decisions in agriculture?
Yeah.
Especially, with climate change bringing more unpredictable weather and sudden stress events, can we use this to build more responsive, resilient farming systems?
That's the big challenge, applying these insights at scale. Outro. Wow. What a journey through just 72 hours in the life of these plants. It really shows how much you can learn from digging deep into the data.
Absolutely. From the importance of that day zero baseline
Right, that homogeneity was key.
to seeing those incredibly rapid changes on day one, and then how those trends played out by day 3.
And understanding nuances like that source-to-sink phenomenon with the bricks data, how something that looks like a drop can actually signal success. That was a real highlight for me.
Yeah, it's a great example of needing physiological context.
So we saw foliar really shine, better hydration, better stress management overall. Drip had those initial stumbles, raising questions about its effectiveness in rapid response scenarios.
And the control group, while declining as expected in some areas, really surprised us with that inherent resilience shown by the KSI.
A reminder of the plant's own capabilities.
Definitely.
So for you listening, here's something to chew on. How might this ability to see significant physiological shifts in just 72 hours change how we manage plants? Whether it's a giant farm or your backyard tomatoes.
Could we use rapid diagnostics, maybe even remote sensing tied to these indicators, to intervene much earlier and more precisely when stress hits?
Does it make us rethink blanket applications and move towards more targeted, real-time support based on what the plant is actually experiencing right now?
It certainly opens up possibilities for more dynamic and potentially more efficient approaches.
Lots to think about. It just shows there's always more to uncover when you do a deep dive.
Always.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning. We'll catch you next time.